My name is Cheryl Andrus, Director of Human Resources Department. Within our department, we have a total of 6 employees. We have Carolyn, who helps us on the recruiting side. Alyssa does benefits and retirement. Cindy helps manage our payroll, and Michelle helps process that payroll, and Tricia being our support service person. So our roles and responsibilities are really, our customers are all internal. It is our employees of St. Tammany Parish that we help support in their life cycle as an employee, of when they come in the door and when they leave the door, preferably for retirement. We help manage everything in between is what we do. So from a payroll process, we do process payroll. We do a biweekly payroll as well as a monthly payroll. That payroll is generally for 600 individuals. That also includes the 22nd Judicial, Register of Voters, Justice of Peace and Constables, Slidell City Court, and St. Tammany Juror Commissions. So when we look at our head count, we omit them from our head count, but we are responsible for payroll for those individuals. So that leaves us with about 570 employees. That biweekly payroll runs around 1.2 million, while the monthly payroll is around 76,000. From a what's come in the door and what's gone out the door, as of November 1st, we've hired 135 new employees. We've rehired 13. There have been 59 promotions, and there have been 118 separations. So in looking at that, that's pretty much what we processed through the department. Any questions so far? Okay, so moving on, what I'd like to do is the next thing in the agenda is to talk about the compensation study. With your permission, I'd like to move that closer to increases when we talk about the COLA and increases. I think it makes more sense there if you guys are okay with that. Okay. So next thing that we'll talk about is current vacancies. I believe you guys have a spreadsheet of our current vacancies. That was as of the end of October. On average, our average year of service, just as a fun fact, is 8 years. Our longest tenured employee is 47 years. She's been with us since 1977. So pretty impressive statistic, but on average, our average years of service are 8 years. Regarding the vacancy report, any questions there? This is obviously something that moves constantly just based on who's leaving us and positions being filled. Yes?
47 years. Who is that? Ross is waving his hand. I know it's not Ross.
No, it's not Ross. It is Cynthia Kasnav. Yeah,
Okay.
Kasnav.
I know Cynthia.
Yeah, so 47 years. So, I know, pretty impressive. And then we've got some 30s in there too. So it's very impressive. Yeah, it's excellent. So, regarding an average time to hire an employee within the parish, when we make that offer, we have skinnied up some of those timelines. On average, it takes HR about a week and a half to hire somebody as you get through the background, drug screens, physicals, those sorts of things. But if you take a look at, an employee having to give notice, it takes about a month to get a new employee in the door. Okay. Regarding benefits, so we offer a plethora of benefits: medical, dental, vision, short-term, long-term disability, a basic life. Employees can elect supplemental life insurance should they choose to do that. It does obviously come at a cost to them should they choose. And our benefits are effective the first of the month following a hire date. So for instance, if somebody's hired today, November 6th, I think it is, November 6th, they will be eligible for benefits as of December 1st. Okay. Our plan year is an off-cycle plan year. It does not follow a calendar year. Our plan year is May to April. When it comes to benefits, those we have a broker, which is Gallagher. Gallagher helps us manage this plan year and the renewals. I do have a handout, Mary, if you don't mind. What I wanted to share with you guys is, I know one of the questions is benefit premiums. Oh, I'll need one too. That would help, huh? Is benefit premiums, and what does that look like, and where are we going? And so this page that Mary is passing out is an ongoing year-over-year snapshot of what has happened with our insurance premiums and the carriers that we had for those years. So if you take a look, we were running with Humana for a while. We've had some years with decreases. Humana back in 2022, after a series of decreases, came back and had an astronomical increase that we said, we really want to put this out to the market and see what other options are out there. At that point, that's when we migrated over to United Healthcare, and we've been with United Healthcare since then. But current benefits range around $5.9 million annually. Every year. So we're going to start right about now around Thanksgiving. We've already been given the heads up that we send a census to our broker, and based on that census is where they go out. Our major players in Louisiana are going to be, Aetna, United Healthcare, Cigna. Humana is no longer around, so we'll send it out to all the big players. Blue Cross Blue Shield will be another one, and we'll see what we get back with these premiums.
I'm sorry, when is the timing for that?
So that's going to start November, December.
Okay.
And then what we try to do is have all of that ready so that we can start looking at, well, where are we going with these insurance premiums, so we can get, authorization from administration and ultimately council.
Have we looked into level funding options?
No, we have not looked into level funding. We've always been fully insured. But that's something, we can look at that through our broker. We are under, for lack of better words, contract with Gallagher. We just re-signed them last year for 2 years, which can push out to a maximum of 6. But we can certainly look at it.
Yeah. All right. Mr. Phillips?
I didn't know if you wanted to answer questions as we went.
Sure.
Okay. I see like you got a negative 14% or whatever for 2022. I mean, it's interesting it went down, and it was the same company, so.
Yeah, and sometimes companies do that to leverage in the marketplace, but it's all based off of, what's called your run ratio of how much they can, I hate to say, make on the employee, and the healthiness of the employee base is where they get those in premiums. But they're kind of a false reality, because in the case with Humana, several years later, they came back and it was astronomical. I want to say it was like 23 or 24%.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, but you got the same quality of benefits when they lowered it at that time?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, that is correct. And in some of these cases, we even expanded the benefits and added an additional tier just to give our employees more choices of how they would like to use their insurance.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Yes, sir.
Sure, we said the $100,000 holiday.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, when you looked at the UHC, United Healthcare renewal for this year, it was it was $100,000 greater. So it was $6 million and change. But what they did, it's the first time I've seen it in my experience, but they gave us a $100,000 holiday in the month of June, where they just took the $100,000 off of it. And that's why I put it there, because if you look at the number, it was a little like 6 million and change, well, $100,000 greater than what's here. But they did give us that holiday in the month of June.
I have a question.
Yep.
So, like for our cost with an employee, if we pay $50,000, what is the true salary? What's the true cost to the parish?
Yeah, so let me look here.
And does that include benefits and everything, like?
Yeah, so the parish picks up 100% of employee-only coverage. And then for the next tier, which is, an employee and their spouse, we're picking up about 21% of that total premium. Okay. And then for employee plus children, 20%. For family coverage, it's 25% that we as the employer are picking up and passing the cost through to the employees.
Thank you.
Of course.
But to build off it, like if I wanted to hire somebody for our department, I want to pay them 50. They're probably going to cost us what, 65?
Yeah, you can, it depends what level of coverage. That's why it's always a question, right? And when we build these models, we can't assume everybody's going to take family because then it's going to be way inflated.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you look at an X factor, call it 25, 30%, somewhere in there.
Of whatever you're going to, yeah.
Of whatever, yeah, if you just use that as a average buffer, X factor.
In previous life, we used to look at our total compensation, the total cost, total compensation package, which included all benefits, vacations,
Sure.
things of that sort. Do you do those kind of calculations?
We do.
The previous, where I worked, we distributed that to our team members so that they appreciated that your base salary covers this, but above and beyond your base salary, regardless of what it is, here's what your total compensation package would be worth relative to the market.
Yeah, and I think that we do have that information because even when we do the projections during open enrollment, we are looking at fully loaded benefit costs for a one-for-one employee who currently has benefits and what that looks like for, the next year. So I don't think from a department we've been asked that, but we have the data and we use that to manage it.
Well, my only point is if we're not pushing that out to our team members, it might be something to consider, is to show them what the.
Yeah,
we used to show that people, this is what your salary, your take home is, but here's what your total compensation package is worth.
Sure.
In relative to what it's costing us as a company to
And it's
have you as an
substantial.
employee.
Yeah.
It's a big difference. It's not, people don't often appreciate how much add-on costs there are embedded in that.
Sure. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? To my right? To my left? All right, thank you very much.
Sure. And then talking about going forward and looking at salary increases. That was another thing that was on our agenda. And what I wanted to do was spend some time talking about the compensation study that was done in 2023, which was effective January 1 of 2024, and then go into talking about cost of living adjustments and what that means to us. So if that works for everyone. So the compensation study was done through Management Advisory Group. It was a company, the acronym MAG. It was a company out of South Carolina, and we started that RFQ process back in 2022. The large part of the study took place in 2023, where we evaluated, the MAG evaluated a couple of different things to make us competitive in the market. They looked at our job descriptions, they looked at job analysis, they spoke with departments, and then came up with some recommendations as they compared it to other like parishes in the area that were geographically located. So when they did this study, they looked at, they pulled data from Covington, East Baton Rouge, Jefferson Parish, Mandeville, Orleans Parish, Slidell, St. Bernard Parish, and Tangipahoa. And through the study and the recommendations that were made, that's what then has created our salary grades. We have two different platforms for our employees. We have employees that are 75-hour employees, and we have employees that are 80-hour employees. So we do have a little bit of an offset with our two comparisons. And through this study, it was, we came up with what our grades look like. We used to have grades and steps, and now it's just grades. But it came out to be this, which shows every position in the parish and where it falls in these ranges. Through the recommendation of the study, it brought up the minimum salary within the parish is $15.51 an hour. That is our starting rate of pay for all new positions or at that entry level, at that grade 101. So what that did is there were 112 people that were impacted by the study who were needing to be brought up to their minimum salary for the grade that they entered this plan on. So we made those changes effective. It was actually effective December 31st of 2023. So we brought all of those 112 people up to wherever the minimum was in the grades that were recommended. Does that make sense? And again, keeping in mind that you have that 75-hour employee or 80-hour employee. On average, our salary, our average salary within the parish is $50,475.11, or it's an average of $25.27. That's where our parish is averaging out. And I say an average of the 25.27 because we have the two pay plans. Per hour, yes, sir. So if you look at that, that was just the integrity of the study. We've heard from Public Works and Utilities that making this change has made us more competitive in pay and recruiting more employees, better employees to the parish. So while in infant stages of the plan, it appears to be doing its job. Okay. So when we looked at that study, moving over to cost of living adjustments, is the cost of living adjustment. So when the council approved a 3% cost of living adjustment last year, we took the pay plan that we have and we slid everybody by the 3% that was approved for the cost of living adjustment. So it moved everybody 3%. Okay. So then we talk about, cost of living and what does that mean? I believe you guys have this spreadsheet. If you need a copy, I've got extras. It's in there. Yeah. Sure. So let me explain what this sheet is looking at. And to back up for those that may not be interested or know what the CPI, what this cost of living adjustment is based off is every year the Bureau of Labor Statistics goes and creates this consumer price index. And it says, we're going to take the things that Americans buy the most of, they look at 23,000 different household items that people buy on a regular basis. And they go and they say, well, how much does this cost versus last year? And they come up with a percentage to say, well, this is the increase. They also look at, tenants and landlords for the cost of living of how do people live? So they take all of that together and they come up with the inflation rate. This spreadsheet is showing where if you look from 2010 to 2024, it has it by month, and this is something finance produces, and it's a great document. And on the right, if you see the annual change from prior year, January to January, there's a running percent down the side that shows that this is the percent COLA that is recommended by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. For 2024, we're running around 1.78%. So, that's why it was recommended a 2% COLA. If you look on the bottom left hand, this is what the history of what the administration and council has approved since 2010. And the percent awarded if there was a cost of living adjustment awarded in those years. So if you kind of look at the annual change column year over year and the COLA awarded, it makes sense. On years where there wasn't a COLA awarded, it got us off track, for lack of better words. So year to year, our cost of living is in excess of a COLA by 19.56%. So it does beg the question that if we would have just kept on this COLA path, would we have needed to do a market study? Maybe, maybe not. We're not sure. But this is how it's trending and why the 2% was asked.
So when, you said 1.78 was recommended said you asked for 2. Is it just rounded up?
Just rounding up, I mean, this is up through August. So if you just project out the last months of the year, September, October, November, December, it was a round up to 2%. Yes, sir. Any questions there?
Just to backtrack,
Sure.
and it's just for me, I'm sure everybody else knows. What distinguishes a 75-hour employee and an 80?
It's just their job duties and the needs of,
Example of a.
so I'm a 75-hour employee.
Okay.
An
What's
80,
that? It's 2 weeks?
so it's 37 and a half hours per week.
Okay.
An 80-hour employee is a lot of public works and utilities,
Okay.
so they're working a 40-hour week.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Do you know, speaking of that, do you know the history of why do we have 35-hour or
37.
I do
37
not
and a half
know
hour
that
employee.
history. I'm not sure how we got there.
It goes back to the old police jury days.
Same benefits. Yeah, health benefit, all the benefits are the same. It's just the hourly pay is different and the hours worked per year. And
Then it's also overtime calculated also different, like, so if you're at 37 and a half.
correct.
You don't get overtime until 40.
Correct. Right.
If you're a 40-hour employee.
You hit the overtime.
Yeah.
Right. That is correct.
when you did the compensation study, did other parishes around us have less than 40-hour standard work weeks?
Not to my knowledge. I didn't see that in the study. That study took place before I was hired, and looking through the data, I didn't see anywhere where that was mentioned or recommended we have one pay scale.
Is there any reason we're not at a 40-hour week? That's like relatively standard in the US.
Yeah, it is mostly standard. I don't know the answer to that.
President Cooper. They're controlling it.
Okay. I asked that question too with previous HR director. I do not know the reason for it, but I think that has to be addressed.
I appreciate that. I think we should take a hard look at that.
Well, I would invite conversation on that and
Great.
to do that. But I did ask that, and again, this was during COVID and
Right.
all the challenges, but I didn't have a warm and fuzzy about why there's a distinction for that.
Right.
And I'd
Okay.
be happy to address that.
Great. I appreciate it. I think we should take that as an action to go offline and take a look at that and think about what it might be, what it might be for the future.
If you wanted to adopt a 410 policy for certain departments, would that be hard for us to implement legally? Are there any?
No, it wouldn't, it would just be a different alternative work schedule. I mean, we have departments now that operate, 7 a.m. to 3:30. We have departments that work 8 to 4:30. So it'd just be a different work schedule.
Yeah.
And relative to the coverage, like that wouldn't work in our department because our employees need us to be there when they need us.
Yes.
But in some places it could be relative.
Okay. Perfect.
410s are used a lot where you have a mobilization cost. And so instead of mobilizing 5 days a week and wasting the time to get equipment on location, doing it 4 days a week, you get more actual use hours out of the equipment that is required to go perform a function or a
Yeah.
job.
Sure. Makes
by
sense.
going to a 410.
Sure.
It also then gives you the flexibility for a relatively easy overtime day on a fifth day.
Yes.
But you also have to consider the time of year, because if you're looking at 10-hour days, like this time of year, you'd probably have to, as far as somebody's working outside, so.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the one size doesn't fit all, and one size doesn't fit all today. That's why, Public Works utilities get an earlier start when it's a little bit cooler and early. So it's all relative to the job at hand.
Gotcha. All right. Looking to my left, Rick.
A little bit more clarification, 37 and a half hour work person, generally a salary person?
Not always.
Okay.
Not always.
What about the 80 hour?
Not always.
Generally hourly?
Generally hourly. Actually, all of our 80-hour employees are going to be hourly. I mean, as far as non-exempt.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
all of our administrative positions fall under the 75-hour.
I really think that's a good action item for us to take to look at.
We would love it.
I think that Arthur's comment about the 410s for construction kind of jobs, your return on investment is there from many companies do that kind of thing, so they get better utilization. Okay. In terms of the COLA, since we're talking about that, has there ever been any consideration to provide, I know that one of the desires is particularly to help people at the lower end and, then not have as much rapid salary growth on the high end. And so is there, I guess my question is, have we ever looked at a one-time payments as opposed to a salary increase?
So one-time payment you could look at, I take this back to the compensation study and what was done and it being new in its infancy. You could look at doing a dollar amount. One of the things that I looked at, with the help of Cindy, I have to say, she's a huge wealth of knowledge in our department, is I looked at a couple of different things, is if you gave everybody a $500 increase, so that averaged out to, I think, an extra 52 cents an hour. If you looked at giving everybody a $750 increase, that is approximately, thank you. Is approximately, 70, or, 70, well, it was actually 38 cents per hour. And then I looked at, if you give everybody $1,000, just add the $1,000 to their base, it's roughly 51 cents more an hour. Now, this statistic I have is straight off the press, if you will, from Cindy. And and I can put this together, it was literally just sent, because we've been slicing and dicing this every which way to figure out how, we could look at this differently. And so with a 2% COLA, the average increase, and that's with benefits, is around $1,149.32 on average per year. Now, with that being said, if you looked at giving $500, that changes only 26 people's pay would fall into that. 95 people would be impacted by $1,500 change in doing all of this, and everybody else kind of falls into that 500 to 1,000. So with all of that being said, your average is close to what that COLA is going to be.
Here's a concept, I guess a concept that I was thinking about that I just offer you to consider, and I'd be happy to talk to you about it offline. If you accepted a bracket that everybody up to $50,000 got $1,000, so you're at 2% for a $50,000 employee, and then everybody between 50 and 100 got whatever 2% would be of their annual base salary as a one-time payment, and then everybody of 100, you had a cap on it, so you have both a floor and a cap. So that you're increasing the people at the bottom level, and you're not increasing the people at the highest level at the same rate as everybody within the range. And I've heard that stated as a goal and a desire from in the budget meetings over the last year. I think there's an approach that could go do something like that and continue to bring people at the bottom at the lower salary rates or lower hourly rates up, while at the same time not causing our total compensation to rise in an excessive manner.
And I think that within the current pay plans, that is a possibility. So when this pay plan was built, we have a minimum salary, a midpoint, and a maximum. If at any point anybody gets to that maximum, which we don't have anybody close to, at that point the recommendation is freeze. There's no more increases for that individual. So in doing that and having so many different pieces, I'm not sure how it impacts the integrity of that study, because everybody was moving together on that adjustment, on the sliding scale.
Right. Well, if you're trying to slow down overall, if you make that as a one-time payment, just say date certain, April 15th every year, you're going to get a one-time payment that is, if you're less than 50,000, it's a 2%. It's a flat 1,000. It tracks at 2% between 50 and 100, and above 100 it's a flat 2,000. Then you're not getting the long-term buildup of compounding, but you're still giving some
I
funding.
think
to
we
people.
definitely would have to crunch the numbers and the scenarios relative to the pay plan that, we just put in place. So, anything's possible.
Dina?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, you can increase a salary by a dollar amount rather than rather than by a percentage. But we really need to check with legal. You can't do a one-time payment. That's considered a bonus, and government can't give out bonuses. Can't do that.
The school district does.
I've always been told by every attorney that's worked with both the city and the parish that we cannot give out bonuses. We can do increase by a dollar amount, like you can give every employee an extra $1,000 or something like that, but you can't give out a one-time bonus like at Christmas time or in January or in April. You just can't give a one-time payment because it's considered a bonus, and that you can't do it.
Yeah, I appreciate that it can't be labeled a bonus.
The school board may be giving
$1,000.
a $1,000 salary increase, but you can't, right, but it has to continue. But I would encourage you to check with legal on that before you make any changes like that.
Yeah, I'm just asking the concept. I've seen it done many places. I don't know if it's actually applicable to government, so I just wanted
Probably applicable to government.
to tee it out and see if it was possible that something like that could be done, because that slows your overall compounding of your salaries over time, but still gives people some recognition and gives them some extra money that they hadn't counted on.
We've looked at it, we'll look again.
Yeah.
Can be an annual merit raise.
It definitely would not be called a bonus, because I do know if you use the term bonus, that it's not, I have heard that if the term is bonus, that's not viable in government, but there may be a way to word it, characterize it differently.
All right, Mr. Apostolic?
Yeah, no, I really like the idea of a floor and a ceiling. I think Jeff is on to something with that. I know we've talked about this as a council. We've had issues with it for a while, and I've heard there were issues with it even prior to this. I do suggest that we get together after and try to work together to figure out a better program to do annual COLAs.
That sounds good. And if we could put everybody on the same plan at 80 hours, that would be
Yes, absolutely.
preferable as well.
All right, looking to Mel.
Get much resistance from us on that.
And look at maybe the 410s potentially for some departments that would make them more efficient.
So new positions, any questions for me?
Yeah, well, Cheryl, you got a question then to Mary?
Okay, I have a question on new positions. I know they're listed here as new positions, and you sent us a chart of what was available. Does this match up to the budget? Are there any positions that are not filled that's in this budget that we do not know about? That they're just there?
No.
So if I took a department and looked at the number of employees and their salary, it would match
Yes,
the budget?
that
Okay.
is correct.
Huh.
Yeah, it's a one-for-one match to get those totals. And with the request for these new positions.
Okay.
Okay, also, I got one other comment, Arthur, if I could. Sure. In the other comment I'd make is, and you heard about, I talked about it with Chris Tishy this morning. I think that we ought to take a hard look as an entity with the number of projects we have in key organizations, facilities, engineering, public works, and utilities, in particular, the ones that come to mind to me. A project planning position being added in those organizations is not an expensive position relative to what you get out of that in terms of a benefit. I haven't worked in a single engineering organization during my whole career that we didn't have a project planners reporting to the senior people, so that as a staff function, so that the senior people weren't responsible for going and tracking the details of all those projects. I think it's really something we should consider. I look at the number of projects we have going through, and I think that the benefit of having that functionality available and taking some of the burden off of the senior people, the directors leading these organizations, would have a significant return on investment in the long term.
Sure. I don't disagree with that.
I'll ask one more question.
Yes,
I know we haven't got to the merit. I see that we put a 1%
Pool.
for each department. Why is it that just move a line item if, depending on who you're giving? Apparently, you're not giving merit increases to everybody in the department. Why isn't a line item moved instead of placing a 1% for each department? That's kind of like a guessing game. Well, we're going to get $5,000 for $500,000 a budget. And, it's like, well, we can give it ever how we want to. Why isn't that just put a line item movement? I'm sure there's money that can be found for that.
I think for larger departments, probably so. Smaller departments, I think, run pretty lean, so that 1%, being discretionary, but I'd probably defer to finance.
Right, how many merit increases do we give in a year?
Not really, it's more of a salary adjustment if we see that something's off. If we have an employee that we see is not being paid correctly, if we notice an error, but it is a merit type thing. It wouldn't be a cost of living thing. It
No.
would be a merit type thing. But no, it's not used like, usually it's used for one employee or two employees during the year, and sometimes it might not even be used at all. I'm just not sure. Leslie would maybe be able to track it for each department. But like, I can tell you from my department, one year, I had an employee that got a master's degree during the year. And so I needed to adjust that salary for the new things she was going to be doing. And sometimes that's what it's used, like in utilities, when someone gets a certification, they move up in pay based on their certification that they get, their new certification. And that's where that money is used, that pool of money, 1% money is used.
But is
when
it
it's
kept in
needed.
the department, or is it just pooled to the side?
No, it's kept
out of
it's
each
kept in
fund?
the
Kept in
department.
each department.
It's part of the salary budget in each department.
I know it's the
Sorry.
budget, but I don't know, I just have a problem. Usually, what I've seen in the past, if you gave someone that they were paid wrong, especially after you do the COLA, if you see someone's paid wrong or they need a merit increase for something, you usually move a line item in a budget, and you don't have this money hanging out there for whatever. I just
Right.
have to wrap my head around that. I just have a problem with that. Thank you.
All right, looking to my left, looking to my right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, great job.
Thank you.
Me, Michael Vincento, Chris Tissue, and one of the person that came early. Yes, Ross.
You still need me.
Thank you. Put stars. This is your packet for after. We're gonna get them done now. We'll have stars next to their items. In your packet for capital assets. They only have one each. Now we can go to lunch.
Okay. All right, so we're going over to welcome to the 2025 budget hearing for capital assets. And we are going to start off with Ross.
Chris is I'm
Yes.
supposed to be coming to in about 30 minutes.
All right, go. Everybody jump to the last
He's
page.
got to go. We do.
I know, that's a,
Where do you need to go?
so, as you
All right, Chris, you need 2 trucks?
need ideally 4 trucks.
Okay, but
2
you asked for
replaced,
2?
Then 2
Oh,
for the new
4.
employees I'm requesting.
Okay. All right. Chris needs 4 trucks. Anybody got a question?
You said the new employees, what is going to be their function?
I'm requesting 5 new employees, 2 that we were going to request last year when there was a blanket not hiring anybody new. And then it was those 2 plus an additional 3 this year. And so 2 of those would be for our electrical maintenance crew, which primarily check and service our lift stations. And then 1 each for line repair, and then line maintenance, which basically addresses changing up meters, repairing water leaks, things like that nature. And then 1 for the office staff, as we're picking up a lot of new customers right now, and make sure we can answer all of our phones. We've got about 50,000 customers, and then we've got about 6 office staff right now. So this to increase the productivity of the actual office and the building staff, as well as our work order processing.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anybody else got a question about 4 trucks? 4 trucks.
One clarifying remark. The question you asked previously about the 15,000 for the after hours, that's going into the budget for these 5 employees. Because 4 of these employees would provide after hour services. And that's making sure that that's in there. So that's the increase from the original 38,000. So I just had to see what that line item was as you were referring to.
If you know it off the top of your head, how many trucks do you have for utilities right now?
70 would be my ballpark.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Real insignificant increase.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good. All right.
All right. 4 trucks.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Good luck.
Okay.
It's on the second page.
Ross?
Doctor's appointment too?
I would like to get some work done this afternoon.
No,
Like,
you're not
I don't
allowed to
mind
work.
spending time with y'all, but
I think the only question I had was, why do you need medium duty versus a light truck?
yeah, great question. So this is a replacement. I think it's stated on there. It's either 2010 or 2011 with 170,000 miles. It's currently an F-250 4x4. It was recommended by Fleet for replacement. We need a 250. We have a big trailer. It's an enclosed trailer, and it just would.
No, that makes sense.
It just would tax the engine quicker and make it go, make it not last as long, but also get it. It's a $70,000 vehicle for an F-250. We could use a F-150 with 4x4, but again, it would ruin it quicker.
Do a lot of hauling with the trailer?
We do daily. Yes,
Okay.
Is this your only F-250?
it is. It's a replacement.
Okay. Any questions?
Is it signed or individual?
It is John Goodnow, Spaff is what he's called.
Okay.
And he runs across the parish, working on projects.
Okay.
And he keeps all the equipment in the enclosed trailer.
Diesel though, right?
That I could not tell you.
All right. Well, I think diesel would be better than, right?
It's a
Nah.
mechanic question.
Gotcha. All right.
I'm not a
All right. Anybody questions about Ross's F-250?
The allocation you can pay.
Huh? Yes.
250 for the Cybertruck.
Okay. This better not be a Cybertruck. All right. Any questions? Yep.
I kind of missed it. F-250.
Yes, sir.
Is it a certain package?
No, we always get like the base model. So if it's less than that, we'll save the money. But no, we don't get anything other than the base that we need.
Is it four-wheel drive?
Yes, that's the key. It's a 4x4 and it's 250. We use a state contract, so whatever the prices are negotiated by the state is what we get.
Ugly white truck.
Yep.
Vinyl floor mats.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep. All right.
Why the 4x4? I'm just
Because of the trailer and because of the places that Spaff goes.
You go off-road with the truck?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Not for fun, for work.
I understand.
All right. Any other questions? Nope. All right. Michael?
First
Yes.
page of the report is Michael the star.
Thank you, Ross.
What is a content management share system?
So you guys know that PIO obviously has two sides to it. We have the PIO side and we have the STPG-TV side. Going back and forth, sharing content. This is about efficiency, improving workflow. Let's say we were to post something about Keep Louisiana Beautiful Day. We needed to go find a picture from last year's Keep Louisiana Beautiful. We'd have to go to a specific machine right now where all of our content is stored. We have about 20,000 digital assets, that being pictures and videos. We have to slow down that machine and try to get that to the person who will be handling whether it's a social media post or the newsletter or whatnot. But this is about us improving our workflow. Another example, Jay will go out and get drone footage of a pond. For us to get that footage to put it on our server, we're talking about hours of transferring it to the appropriate computer to where we can have this uploaded to where we need it to be. So we're just trying to improve the process, make sure that we are efficiently working, not slowing down anyone, and being good stewards of the public funds and public service.
So the cost you save by man hours justifies the cost of the equipment probably.
Absolutely, and right now we're still working to get the total cost of what it would be. We know it's going to be less than $20,000, but we're still working to figure out the final cost. It's a combination of software, hardware. It's something that'll be locally stored, hardware obviously, but it'll have some web interface as well, so we can access if we need to.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So, Arthur, so you don't, the 20,000 images are not on the cloud now, or
They're
on a physical machine,
locally, yes.
and you're going to,
We're
what is
going to upload it to a server to where our entire TV staff would have access to it at all times, and then our PIO staff can log into the web and have access to it as well. But right now it is stored on one machine, and trying to make sure that everybody has access to that. We don't have a storage issue. We have ample storage in our department. It's a content management issue and making sure that everybody has access to everything at all times.
So how many drones do you guys have?
We have one drone that we use. We may have 2 drones. One we don't, it's just out of date, and we purchased a new one recently. We've been using that. We actually paid for one of our employees to go get the drone pilot license to make sure that, we're all up to certifications and whatnot. But, I'm sure you guys saw the videos from the lighthouse last week, and that would not have been possible without purchasing the drone and paying for the certification. So trying to make sure that we're maximizing all of our skills and dollars.
So he's got a pilot I lost one in the trees, so it's not as easy as it seems.
I'm proud to say we have not lost any. I'm not going to, the previous administration may have lost a drone in the water somewhere under a similar project. Nobody that's currently on staff though. But yeah, we have a good team and good employees. We have 6 people on our staff, and I really, in my humble opinion, I think we have the best PIO team in the state of Louisiana. So,
yeah, I mean, drones enable you to get footage just so much cheaper than something else. But
yeah, absolutely. And I think we purchased our drone for under $3,000. But the content and the quality and the things that we've gotten out of it. I mean, if you looked at the State of the Parish video, it's filled with drone shots and things that we can't get. I mean, we have great cameras. We have great staff that can take really good pictures, but if you don't have a drone, it limits you.
What's your interaction with aircraft flying around in that? Do you stay below a certain level, altitude?
That is a great question, and I did not pass the drone test myself. I haven't taken it, so I don't know that answer. We stay within the legal requirements. Chris Arroyo is our drone pilot. He's a broadcast technician as well. It's his main job as a broadcast technician. But he's really, really aware of the rules and the legalities. So I would venture to say that he doesn't interfere with any of that. And we know that, you fly and there's geo fences on the drones and where you can fly and where you can't fly. So we're really aware of those things.
Okay. No, just as a pilot.
We do not want our drone to interfere with anything that's carrying a person.
Right. And another aircraft would have transponders and things of that that are showing their position so people don't have a collision. And,
For the most part, I mean, off the top of my head, I think probably the highest we've flown is maybe to the water tower on Coop Drive. And maybe, I can't think of anything else where there's been a reason why we have to fly higher than that. We don't use it for high level anything. We're just trying to get better bird's eye view angles.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, Jeff? Yeah. All right, so back to your basic saying the content management, that's really,
Sheriff said, that's really going to give you a better way to label stuff, pull it out faster, organize it.
Yeah, so it's
it's almost like a relational database for video. Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right now everything's labeled really well. It could be STP-Gov 2020-12, so it's labeled, but it's on one machine.
Yeah, I understand.
So to have it in one place where people can go and it's still going to be stored,
Makes it searchable, easy to pull down by a variety of people and multiple access points.
Yeah, and we're talking, in one instance, it'll be hours of saving time. So you multiply that over the year, it's really a good thing for us.
All right, looking to my left. All right. No more questions on this. I think that's it. I just had one comment. First of all, we want to thank you for all your work your department's done to rig this together so we could have this. But maybe we should think of a wish list for this building.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's anything we can do to improve. We have the knowledge on our staff. And I failed to say we have 6 people total on our staff. We have 3 people on the TV sides. Danny, who's been here for decades as our assistant director. Shannon Surpass, who's standing behind you there, as production specialist. Chris Arroyo, who I mentioned before, does the drone stuff. He's also a broadcast tech. But on the PIO side, we have Michael Koster and Kai Wilson, who help do everything we do on the PIO side. And we have a lot of skills. And I can't brag on them enough that we really have. I think you guys should be proud of our PIO team. I think it's one of the best in the state, if not the best.
All right. No other questions? All right, that concludes this part of the hearing.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Start again.